Welcome back to the grind.
Well, yeah, that's what they say. Welcome back to the grind. It's December 27th, 2022. Welcome aboard, everybody. You're listening to the Crushing Iron podcast, and this is episode 645.
It is. Nailed it.
We hope you all had a tremendous Christmas, and Santa brought you all the goodies and all the wonderful things you asked for or didn't ask for from those, strange, weird family members you haven't seen in a year, but yet they buy you a gift and you didn't know about it. So you're sitting there empty-handed with nothing to give. Hope you got everything and anything that you wanted, and we hope we deliver you a nice little present today with our message. Mike, did you get anything special for Christmas? What's your favorite gift? Put you on the spot.
Yeah. I think my favorite gifts are everything that Maddie got. My Christmas has turned into like, here's a little gift card and go enjoy, because I know that's your favorite gift card. I mean, your favorite present is a gift card.
You nailed it.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it. Let's see. Yeah. I think that's it. I think that's
speaking
about
of
it,
You didn't send me a gift card, and you didn't send me an e-gift card, did you, via email?
No, I didn't.
Why? Right, because you brought the gift card thing, and the trouble with first names in Michael's is that I'm assuming it's 100% one of our athletes, but I coach 6 different Michaels, and I got a very, very generous gift card to Shields, which isn't one of my favorite stores. And it says, a gift card for you for someone who loves to go shopping with other people's money from Michael. And I'm like, dude, I need at least like the first initial of your last name, not just Michael.
Yeah.
So if you're that Michael, identify yourself so I can thank you, because I appreciate it. But yeah, there's nothing better than gift cards. I got a lot of solid gifts this year. My mom really hit the nail on the head with what she got me. But I think the favorite thing I got was from Hayden, a portable ping pong table. Basically, it's not a table from a ping pong here. It's not really a table. I guess I'm false advertising, but it's 2 solid paddles, 4 ping pong balls, and then this like stretchy net that clips onto it to tables. So basically, anywhere you go, if you have like a flat rectangular table, or if you want to rock the circular, you can set up a ping pong match. And I'm like, this is freaking perfect. I can take this to run camp. We can set up some long tables, and we're back. But that was probably my favorite gift, because I'm of the age now that gift cards and little things like that are that's all I need. I don't even need anything. It's just you got to accept things, or my mom gets irritated.
Yeah, well, my mom's been helping clean out her neighbor's house with all this old stuff, and today she brought in a big box of old albums. I'm talking about old albums, man.
Ooh,
and that was, but nothing that you would probably, like the Green Hornet box set. Like, I don't know
what
if you heard of this, but it was like an old cartoon character type thing. Like Green Hornet was before Batman type guy.
Oh yeah, I know the Green Hornet is.
Yeah, so I was kind of having fun looking through that, but like the you have to give someone a present on this particular day. I like presents. I like giving them. But it was just good, It was pretty low key. I think people have gotten a little more low key. Maybe that's just what happens with age. You get with the presents, It's like you go somewhere and nobody expects it really, but do they really? They might on the you know what I mean.
No, dude, that's how it should be. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
It should be all about it should be all about the kids. Because Hayden, good God, I swear, my mom, it's like just rack up city. And I'm like, all right, I get it, because they don't have any, they don't give a lot, my mom doesn't give a lot to my sister and I anymore. So it's like, let me overcompensate with giving it to the grandchild. And that's what happens. But yeah, he racked up big time, way too much, honestly, but he's very lucky and very fortunate, as we are fortunate, to do this podcast and present it to you. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have quite a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general terms very valuable. So we appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We do race recaps and also a lot of race previews. But for the most part, Mike and I, as coaches, athletes, best friends, we just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through in life, not just as coaches and athletes ourselves, but also as human beings on this planet. We also talk frequently about what our own athletes are going through. Mike and I work with a wide range of athletes all across the globe, from beginner level triathletes looking at their very first 5K or sprint triathlon, all the way up through elite level amateurs trying to get back to the world championships, and everyone in between from all over the globe. And we use the feedback loop we have with them in Training Peaks text messages, emails, and the like to drive the discussion of the day. We also utilize our Facebook group. It's Crushing Iron Group. Answer one simple question, we'll let you right in. Great community, awesome people, fantastic resource. And it really is a wide range of athletes, from beginners or even people who have never done their first triathlon, just looking for more information and supporting community. There's a lot of great people in there with a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience that are more than willing to share that and answer your questions, and hopefully help you prevent you from, running into some of the same obstacles and pitfalls that they've had. And go in there about once a month, like we did last week, and do a bit of a Q&A. But that's it. We don't do sponsors. We don't do ads, but we do have an agenda, and that's to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
Yeah, and hopefully keep it fresh. I mean, we have actually a pretty good topic today, but before we get into it, I was kind of trying to think of a topic, and I saw some of the podcasts that I listen to now. They come out and they have best of.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, that's all the same. Yeah,
like,
best of 2022.
It takes some nerve to think that you're that good, that you have like that level of content that you can repurpose.
Top 10
moments of C26.
I get kind of a kick out of like reading the titles of some, because I think I read one that's like a fairly new triathlon related triathlon podcast, and the title is the world's best triathlon podcast.
Oh,
and I was like, wow, that's like, you're coming out strong. Like, that's just a really bold statement. I mean, I'm all for being confident with yourself, not cocky, but confident. And I was like, I mean, no offense, but I've listened to this podcast and is by not even close to like the best out there. But I was like, that's or the world's greatest or the best. I'm like, people just throw that around like it's nothing. That's why they can't take anything serious. But I was going through our normal intro before we get into our topic that we're on the same page about today. I got to toss out a dad moment. We were grabbing pizza last night, and Hayden was in the back seat with my father-in-law, and it's pitch black outside. We're driving, because it gets pitch black like 4:45 right now, and we're going over a river, and Hayden was like, "Yeah, you can swim in that, if you want it. It's be cold." And my father was like, "Yeah, you probably need a wetsuit, for sure to swim in that." And without hesitation, Hayden goes, "You can't wear wetsuits in Kona." In 2 seconds later, and I could barely hear what he was saying, and then my father-in-law is kind of like hard of hearing, and he was like, "What in Kona?" And he was like, "No, in Kona you can't wear wetsuits in Kona." And it finally clicked, and I was like, yeah, he's right. And I was like, how'd you know that, man? He was like, well, we talked about it when we were watching the Ironman World Championships, and I asked why they weren't wearing wetsuits, and you said they're not allowed. And I was like, you do listen. Not often, because he's 6, but it's like, the things you don't want him to listen to or remember, he remembers. But he was like, yeah, I mean, just like it was right his memory bank. He's like, yeah, well, I know you can wear wetsuits in that river, the Tennessee River, the Duck River, whatever it was. But can't wear them in Kona. So it was had an emotional moment there, and I was very, very, very proud dad/coach moment there that he is at least absorbing some of the things that I say. Clean up your room, or lift the seat up. Those things we're still working on, but the wetsuit in Kona, we got that one covered.
Yeah. So you went over the Duck River, man. I spent a long week kayaking, tubing there one day.
You mean floating and drinking beer?
Oh my goodness.
That's all you do on the Duck River is you float and you drink beer in inner tubes.
Yeah. Oh my God. That was a day. I mean, you just go like 10 miles up or whatever and just sit in a tube for like 8 hours in the sun, and Like, it's
the
just
sun,
brutal.
right?
Woo.
And you get baked. Yeah, you get baked physically and internally. Speaking of baked, we know most of you have been enjoying a lot of baked good the last few days, but that's our topic for the day. Not cakes and not bakery and not sweets, but staying on the train. We talked a little bit before we went live today, and it is like listen, it's the end of the year. We've discussed this, plenty of times. That the end of the year is really like, I don't want to call it a make or break it type period of time, because I think it's always great to relax a little bit and unwind. We take some time off work. We encourage our athletes to embrace December rules, but we've always kind of preached, there's a difference in going basically all the way off the grid, where you're just not doing anything or any workouts of any kind. You're like, yeah, I'll just get back at it, right? And how hard that is. And we also talk a lot about, how you shouldn't be too stringent, with being perfect. Because I firmly believe, I had this discussion with an athlete maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they're talking about taking a day off in December rules. And I said, because he's a person who hadn't missed a workout since we started working together. It's been like 2 months, hadn't missed anything really. And I said, I think you asked about, can I move some things around? Can I move Friday to here? Because I don't want to miss all these workouts. And I said, I think you skipping a day and taking a day off is a very, very important skill for you, because being able to make that decision to take a day and then immediately getting right back on, right back on cue, right back on task, on schedule, is a huge skill to have, because most people struggle with that. They're either all the way on or all the way off. And it takes a lot of effort, I think, to just maintain, whatever you want to call it, staying in a groove, staying on the train, on the wagon, however you want to phrase it. It takes a lot more effort to just basically get right back on, and get back into a routine. That's what we talked about for the podcast. Is it's been, as it has been in pretty much everywhere in the country, I feel like, except for the West Coast, it's brutally, brutally cold. And even here in Nashville, we thought we might escape it, leaving Kansas, but on Friday it was, 1 degree, -20 with the wind, and I've just been running a lot right now, and brought my run stuff to my mom's, and I was like, you know what, I need to get out and do this. I need to get out and run today. Not because it was going to be fantastic, or not because I was really concerned with losing fitness or gaining fitness, but it was the behavior, and it was the effort, and it was the intent that I wanted to make sure, again, like I said, in a time of year where, your last 2 weeks, and you're either going way off the reservation with excess food and excess drinking and all this kind of things, and then expect to, basically have the energy and, the quality sleep and the mood to turn things back around to that, hashtag, new year, new me motto everyone has. And I was like, I just need to stay on the train. The train's been moving. I haven't missed a work. I've been running a lot, been getting things done. The intent is there. Even if it's not pretty, even if it's, as I went out the door and I was like, I'm going to run anywhere between 3.5 to, my mom was like, how far are you running? And I was like, I don't know. Cause I don't know how I'm going to, I don't know how much I'm really going to enjoy running in this weather with all these clothes on and -20-degree wind. And I was like, so I'm going to get myself anywhere between 3 and 7, and I'll call it a win. So I was like a huge range, and I made a 4. But it was just the fact that I wanted to stay, even if it's barely in the groove. It's easier to do that, to put the effort in, than to try and convince yourself you've got to turn it all right back around when all you're seeing is red or no workouts, or you wake up on January 1st and you're hungover, or January 2nd, and not only are you maybe even hungover or not hungover, but you've been eating like trash for a week.
Coma.
So you've been sleeping like trash for a week. So your mood's probably a little bit off. Your routine is totally off, and you feel like crap. And that's when you're going to ask yourself to get back on the wagon. And it's just hard.
Yeah. I thought you were going to keep going there. We had, I think about this time of year, I like to think about nature's rules a lot, and you can't mess with nature, right? And you think about all these animals that actually hibernate at this time of year. So there must be something to it, right? It's like, hey, slow it down a little bit, get some rest, rebuild, recover, whatever. And, but also you start thinking about like a, bear hibernating. Do they sleep the whole, that's what my thought was when I was a kid, is like bears just go in a cave and then they sleep all the time, but they probably don't sleep. They're probably laying in there and rolling around a little bit. Hey, hand me a snack, shoot me some of that salmon over there or whatever. And So that you got to they probably keep it going a little bit, right? I don't know. I mean, I know I'm going off the rails here, but it's just like, I think this time of year is sort of like it has a natural way of kind of keeping you a little bit slowed down. You know what I mean? So I think what you're saying is just beautiful because, I mean, even like, I mean, it's a little colder even up here probably, but not too much. Sounds like it was 20 below. I mean, it was certainly 30 below here. And, you know, I was down in Emily's and we went out to get some breakfast and came back. And I mean, it was cold, dude. Like down there, Illinois, it's like windy, everything's wide open. And, got out of the car and I'm like, you know, I'm going to shovel. It wasn't a ton of snow, but it was drifting up and everything. I was out there maybe 25 minutes and my face was frozen, man. So it's like, there's not a lot you can do. I mean, but it's been a long time since I felt that, you know, face just chiseled up, dripping, you know, icebergs off your eyelids and stuff like that. So I think just even something like that, but like you're saying, man, it was this week I decided because you get that food coma going and, like Monday for me was like, I got to get back and just exact same thought you had was just to kind of keep things moving. And I was kind of thinking about it as this is going to be a primer week for coming into the new year. And I did it. I went down and it wasn't real pretty, but like you said, man, it's like, I think, you know, actually I feel better today now because of what I did yesterday. And it's always that sometimes too. It's like you don't always feel the benefit immediately, but you got to kind of like layer things on top of each other just like you do when you dress, you know. And I think that anything you can do to move it toward it and not start from complete cold is a good move. And this week is like one of those times when it's like, we got New Year's. And I don't really, you know, New Year's is kind of the same thing. It's like, man, seemed like a big deal, but it shouldn't be that big a deal. But it's sort of a day that you have to slow down and watch football or whatever. And you probably will. But I think any time you can move right now and just kind of keep your body in the game for next week is a win. And that might be a good way to look at it all the time. You know, it's just like I always talk about keep that momentum and keep that enthusiasm for tomorrow when you're working out, like whatever you do today, like let's think about how this is going to impact tomorrow. And I think, you know, you can do that week to week and month to month, but it's kind of exciting when you can kind of be like, all right, well, you know, I am a little ahead of the game right now going into next week more than I could have easily just fallen completely into the couch and not done anything. Just do something, I guess.
There's a few things there that you said that resonated with me. And first and foremost, you know, it's not like we are, you know, park rangers, so we know exactly what the Bears do, but it's cold. It's cold and it gets dark at 4:30. You know, it's like it's the days seem shorter. So people are less motivated. Like that you got seasonal depression, or people say they're seasonally affected, which I totally get. You know, like we need sunlight. I mean, that's why you don't see people talking about being seasonally affected in the spring and the summer, you know, because you got tons of daylight. People are outside. It feels good. So it is. It's kind of like this perfect storm of things that are kind of like going against you from the motivation standpoint. It's at the end of the year, right? So it's like and honestly, like the way that Christmas Eve and Christmas fall this year and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day fall, it's like the perfect I'll start back on Monday scenario because they're all over on Sunday, right? So I'll get back on track on Monday, which is everyone's favorite thing is like, I'll get back on track on Monday and it's cold and it's dreary and there's excess, you know, food. And it's not like, you know, people are bringing in fruit trays, right? It's like, you know, I brought something over today and it's like 45 cookies. And you're like, why can't there be a happy medium?
Yeah,
you know, and then you wonder why, like, you know, America is the way it is with you know, obesity rates and the way that we, like, you know, don't function and don't sleep and are, you know, so depressed. And it's like there's a reason, right? And so a lot of it's up to our choice, but there's also this, you know, for lack of a better word, snowball effect when it comes to decision making. Right. And I think, and we've talked about this a ton. And one of the first cases I think we even talked about is when we talk about people who, well, you know, what's the point of doing a 15-minute run? Like, well, if you're not going to make time to do a 15-minute, how are you going to make time to do a 20 or a 25, right? Or a 30? But there is a positive momentum, you know, or snowball effect when you make decisions that support sustainability and support you staying engaged with the process. And that's how I honestly felt when I went to go out and run Friday. and it was so cold. It wasn't miserable, but it wasn't fun by any stretch. But honestly, when I woke up the next day and I saw that it was going to be sunny and 1 degree, I didn't even blink. I was like, right, I guess I'm going back out again. Five, I think I got in 5 miles, 5, 6 miles. Next day I woke up, beautiful day, sunshine, 10 degrees. And it was like, this is nothing, right? Because again, I don't think it was because just the temperature changed, but it was like, if you can do it in -20, you can do it in 1, right?
Mhm.
So you're removing, honestly, like these these latent excuses that we all build, right, to kind of protect our ego and our self-sabotage or give ourselves a way out. God, I can start back Monday. Oh, it's the holidays, man. It's you get live a little, and which you should, right? And believe me, I lived very well. The day before Christmas Eve and Christmas Eve, I stayed pretty solid throughout the day. And then at nighttime, when the family comes over, cookies, ice cream, and enjoyed myself. But I also knew that I still had to kind of keep on making good decisions, because that's when things benefit you. And because we during those like hard periods of time, and we all go through these, right? And it doesn't always have to be in the winter or over the holidays. It could be in the summer, right? But we always kind of go through this internal battle and this internal negotiation with ourselves, right? Do I really need to make it to the pool today? I can go Friday. I swim a lot last week. I've got 6 months till race day. It's not that big of a deal. I can watch a movie with the kids because, coach always says, spend time with family. And I'm like, well, that's a 5th movie you've watched with the kids this week and you've skipped all your workouts. So at some point, you got to quit using that as an excuse, right? So we always barter and bargain and negotiate with ourselves, I think, year round. This time of year is no different. We just have different things that we use in our kind of like self-negotiating, time. But what happens is when because we've all got those different sides of ourselves, the ones that are get out there and go, and the other one's like, dude, just relax. It's Christmas, right? You're trying to spend some quality time, eat 4 more cookies, big deal. You're going to work it off. You got plenty of time till race day. So we've always got those sides. But I think what happens is when you make what might seem like an insignificant decision, whether it's to get out and run or ride or swim when you didn't really want to for whatever reason, or I think 1 cookie is just fine versus 5, right? I think what you do the next time that situation comes up when you're kind of battling within yourself is it's a lot easier as the person who wants to go work out to battle and negotiate against the person that doesn't, right? Or the excuses that come up, or, because I think it's just normal for us to have those. And what happens is like the more you kind of answer that version or that side of you, of your subconscious, whatever it is, that doesn't want to do it, the more times you answer and actually go do it, the less ammunition you give, right? Because they can't use the same maneuver again. It's too cold. You're like, what do you mean it's too cold? I ran a -20. What's 4 cookies? I did 1 before and it was fine. And so what happens is it makes these positive decisions easier and easier and easier to make. And I think that's it. It's honestly, it's a really underrated skill for athletes and for people to have to take a day off and get right back on, or to, eat freely and to get right back on, and recognize that was fine to do in the moment, but it's not fine to do forever.
Right.
Right. Or for even weeks at a time. Like, yes, is it fine? Sure. You can, whatever you want to say, it's fine. But it's about being able to really, again, go back and forth between the two, and then recognize that that's okay for today, but it doesn't need to become a habit, right? Because it's not necessarily a good habit. But then on the flip side of it, it's good to make those small decisions that, again, might seem small, but when you can create that momentum, these things come back up in your mind where you're like, it's not too cold. So I know I'm bullshitting myself by saying, you shouldn't run outside. It's too cold, because you made that decision before. And then so you get out and you do your run, or you go into your ride, or you something. So and so on and so forth. So it really is like in order to create this momentum. And again, you talked about before we got started about, this week is like priming week. It is, it's not perfection, right? And so you should never look for perfection. We use the phrase, progress, not perfection, a lot. This is the week to start defining and looking for opportunities to start progressing, not for perfection. Like you're going to look for, say, January 2nd, I'm going to give up sugar. January 2nd, I'm not going to miss a workout. January 2nd, I'm going to run 6 days this week. Like that's a big ask, right? Just slowly start go outside because most of us got snow. Go outside, grab a small little snowball and just start that as like your decision making. Is like, all right, all I got to do is make one good decision today. And that'll lead to another one tomorrow, another one tomorrow, another one tomorrow. And if you miss it, that's fine, but you can keep rolling, because momentum works the other way too. Every day you stack on top of another day of days you don't do it or the days you make bad habits. It's very, very easy to hop back on the train after you've eaten like shit for one day. He's like, I feel like crap. But then here's where the problem comes. And I think we've all been through this cycle before. I was, this was the cycle I was in for years and years and years when I was, battling, being an alcoholic and drinking every day. Was, you drink so much, because you're, guilt or shame or whatever it is. And you wake up the next day and then you feel guilty and shameful for what you did and how much you drank. So you drink again, right? And the same thing with food, right? People, you and I have talked about this a ton off the air, especially, is like how we use food or decisions to help us, feel better, or at least try to feel better in the moment because of what we did prior to that, right? So you eat like crap and you wake up and you sleep like crap. Well, guess what you want to do? You're not going to be craving fruit, right? Or vegetables or lean meats. You're like, man, I slept like crap. I feel like junk today. Let's order a pizza. It's like you never go the opposite. And the more times you do that, the harder it's going to become to flip that script. And so that's why, again, like, this week is a great week, but then any day is a great day to start just chipping away back to a behavior, to boundaries, to whatever it is that you want to call it, to slowly start making, very minor, what might seem like minor decisions that can lead to major accomplishments days, weeks, and months down the road.
Yeah, I like that you touched on that, because I think that's the thing about a lot of this is like we could spend a week or two kind of being that slog, and then that, beat yourself up thing comes into play and you feel guilty and all that sort of thing. And the next thing you know is like, man, I haven't ridden in 3 weeks. I need to do a 3-hour ride or something like that. And just to show that I haven't lost it. And I mean, that's the interesting thing, right? Is that for most people, in 3 hours, it's all relative, whatever a long ride is you at that moment. But I think most people are capable of doing that, but that's not all, usually the right way to go about it. And as I say, yesterday, I just had a lazy weekend of nothing and felt, bloated and the whole 9 yards. And I literally went down there to Del Boca Vista with the primer day in mind. And, I was just going to, there's also, you've heard of Mark Sisson, right? I kind of follow his stuff a lot. And he has what he calls a golden rule. It's just like spend 1 hour moving, 1 hour learning, and 1 hour creating. And so I was like, all right, let's go down there and do 1 hour moving. And so I had 20 minutes in mind. I was just going to jump on the treadmill for 20 minutes. And then I was going to do some like kettlebell stuff. And then I was going to get in the pool for 20 minutes. And man, did I face some of those decisions. Because like I had my backpack in the car and I hadn't been there in a while. And I got down there and of course it was frozen and I thought it was clean, but I didn't wash it. So it was not only frozen, but it was freezing cold and it stunk like to high heavens, man. And I pull in there and I'm like pulling that out and I'm like, man, do I really want to wear this right now? And I'm like, who cares, man? Just get on. Just put it on and go do it. And I didn't bring the right shoes. And I'm like, well, maybe I won't use a treadmill today and blah, blah, blah. And I just kind of like all day I was just getting through it. And then I get in the pool and I'm like, because we had talked about ad nauseum how much I was swimming before Ironman last year and how I was getting in a groove, but I had fallen off of that, So I got in the pool and I was thinking, all right, just do some hundreds. And I ended up doing like 600. I was like, well, that's better than nothing. But I also was trying to reframe it, because I was thinking 600, everybody in this that probably listens to this podcast laughs at that. But in reality, that's like swimming 6 football fields. So that's like no joke for most of America, right? Or most of the world. So I did it and felt good. And that was just the beginning. And now today I feel better. And I'm going to kind of go back and do something else. And just kind of, like you're saying, keep the momentum going and build a little more momentum going into the year. And hopefully don't eat as much crap this weekend and just be on a better train as the new year flips over.
I absolutely loved what you said because it's so underrated how long 20 minutes is
Yeah.
and the impact that just making 20 minutes to do something, how beneficial that is, and how honestly, like flipped upside down our world has become regarding time, right? And everyone wants things to be shorter, yet we don't feel, because everyone wants a shortcut, right? To do things that we don't want to do. But then when it comes to things that we feel like are meaningful enough, everything is too short, right? Or not, or it's not good enough, or it's not long enough. Yeah, 20-minute run. I mean, I got to do at least 60. Why? Right. Same thing goes for, this will be something that we're going to touch on in the beginning of the year is, sprint distance and Olympic distance triathlon. It's like how important those are and how those have gotten totally lost in the growth of triathlon in general, because it's become about longer and longer and longer and longer, right? When those aren't sustainable, right? But that's become the obsession, right? Everything has to be better and greater and longer and more, Instagram worthy, or I don't want to do it because, people are going to look, and that's not really that big of a deal. Like, do you realize, and we talk about this a lot. We talk about running frequency. Do you realize that running 20 minutes extra, right? 3 times a week. I'm not talking about extra on top of run, but making time to run for 20 minutes 3 times a week, it's 4 hours. That's 50 hours of running for the course of the year. 50 hours of running throughout the course of a year. And if you're a person that averages, maybe 8:30s, that leads to 350 miles of running extra, which also, guess what, is more than most people run for the whole year in triathlon. That's also 340 more miles than the average person probably covers, throughout the course of their entire year. But it's kind of crazy how we've become these two extremes, right? We want to shorten everything. We want to shorten the process. We want to shorten the work. We want to shorten everything. And I think I read the other day, it's like, it's no longer 8-minute abs, it's 80-second abs, because everything has to be shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And it's hacks for this. And, the 6-hour workout week to do your first Ironman, or, everything's shorter. But then when it comes to doing things with purpose or things that matter and doing them frequency, it's like, I don't want to do all that for just 20 minutes. These things add up. Right. And it's the intent, and it's the purpose behind it. It's what you're getting from it that means so much. But again, like we live on these, we don't hang out in the middle anymore. It's got to be short enough to take a shortcut, right? Or it's got to be this big to make it worth it. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. So what we're telling ourselves as a society, we're telling ourselves as individuals in business and in life, and especially in racing and triathlon, because you're never going to see us promote a plan that's like, all right, shortcut your way to your first Ironman. It's like, years of consistent hard work and you're going to get there. It's not something you can market because no one's going to buy it. But that's what we do, is we advertise shortcut, not us, but society now advertises shortcut ways to these extreme things. Extreme races, extreme benefits, lose 40 pounds in a month by doing this, and it's only going to take, 4 minutes a day. And you're like, what? You and I talked about this off air, and I actually brought it up to, I think at one of our family things we had at my mom's house, and it was because I listened to a podcast, and it was called The Blessing of Work. And I think it maybe referenced this on another podcast maybe a month or two ago, but that the biggest benefit we get from what we do is the mental and emotional benefit, right? And what it does for us, like yesterday, Hayden was like, "Yeah, I gotta do some workouts today." I'm like, "What do you mean you gotta do workouts?" Like, "Yeah, I gotta do some push-ups, gonna do some lunges, I'm gonna do some yoga." And I'm like, "What are you talking?" I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Why?" He said, "Well, because I want to be strong. I gotta get strong for hockey." I was like, "Why do you think I got out and ran today?" And he says, "So you can race." And I said, why do you, that's one reason, but why, but what do you think running does for me? And so I think it makes you strong. I said, it does. But I said, but it helps me feel better. It helps me feel better. it's not always attached to an event or a future outcome that I'm either worried about or I want to crush, right? It's because I know that I'm a better person when I do this. I mean, what was it, Christmas afternoon or the day, or Christmas Eve when I went out and ran? Middle of the day, of course, if you've been to Nashville in the last like 10 years, you know it's a total shit show everywhere you go. But I'm running down like West End and Hillsborough Village in the middle of the street
Nobody
because
around.
it's nobody's out, right? Because it's Christmas Eve and Christmas and it's snowy and icy. Everybody's inside. I'm running down streets that are usually like packed with 1,000 people. And it was unbelievable. It was honestly one of the most enjoyable runs I've had in a long time, just because I got to kind of go back down memory lane, you know, from a guy that grew up there, and just like knowing that I was one of the very few, not that I was doing anything like extremely tough, but just having like that kind of stuff around you all to yourself is something that we just don't have that much anymore. And so it wasn't that like I didn't get back and look at my watch. I didn't even know what I ran that day. I got to like almost like kind of like be a tourist in my old town, and half of it was like, I can't believe it looks like this anymore. But it was just like, man, I'm running down the middle of this busy road right, without a care in the world, because it was like the least iciest path. Like people had driven on it, and it was like, you know, clear asphalt. I could see where I was going, and it was just what it did for my mind was 5,000 times better than what it did for my body. Right. And those are the things that I think people forget, right? Talking about decision making again, and even like you said, doing 20 minutes. Like, are you going to gain that much fitness? Really any fitness from doing 20 minutes? No. But what you gained mentally and emotionally by deciding to do something and then following through with it is honestly, it's priceless. Right. And the benefits you get, because what happens is you know, there's always, you know, I think a battle, you know, movement is medicine and all that kind of stuff. And it is. It's not where you get done with the run, you're like, all right, man, I think I gained some real solid cardiovascular fitness. You can't see it immediately, right? Because it takes time to add up. But the decision to do it the next day oftentimes comes from the euphoria and the endorphins and the mental and emotional boost from the previous day,
Yep.
right? Where you went outside and you worked out and you trained, or you went to the pool, or you got on your trainer, or whatever it was, getting a mountain bike, anything. The mental boost you got from that, you slept better, you had better energy, you're in a better mood. You're more likely to get back and work out and train with that type of a feeling than you are by not. And so I think people oftentimes chase the physical, right? The immediate benefit, or I want to see immediate results in my pace or the watts or my heart rate or my you know, pace in the yards in the pool. And that's what they're looking for to create their ability to be committed and motivated to a program, right? Or to train sustainably, or to, you know, be in a process that creates long term. But that you're looking at the wrong way, right? Because the momentum you can create mentally and emotionally because that's what gets you out the door, right? Your body doesn't get you out the door. You do, because there's gonna be a lot of days you wake up and you're like, I ain't feeling it today.
Yeah.
But when you say I'm not feeling it today, is usually your mind is saying, I don't know that I want to do this today. It's rarely ever your body, because even no matter how sore you are, you can make yourself go run, because people do it all the time, right? Or your body can feel amazing, right? From, you know, physically from the chin down. But if you're in a funk, right? You had an argument with your spouse, or you had a shitty work meeting, or something else came up, or you heard about something that stressed you out, your body doesn't respond by saying, I don't want to train you, but your mind does, right? Or in your heart might, I'm just not up to it today. And it's all in your head, right? It's all in your heart. So the benefits that we get from doing those things is what, you know, causes that domino effect to keep getting out there and doing it over and over and over again. But people chase the opposite, right? They want to be stimulated, and they want to be, you know, excited to do things because they want to see an immediate result on the pace. But the immediate result you get from running in the snow or running in, you know, people always say it's about running in the rain, right? They're like, it was the best run of the year.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with their pace. It was the experience and what it does to your mind. And it's become so overstated, the shortcut route that everyone wants to take now, because people are just fucking lazy. People are just lazy. And what you miss by doing things the other way are things that change you, right? As a human being that day, right? No one's ever come back from a run and been like, man, you're in a bad mood. It's like the opposite. And I think we lose sight of that. And that's just something I think you can all gravitate towards year round, not this time of year, but year round, and how we can impact ourselves positively today. And we know that that positive impact will lead to more positive impacts tomorrow. And then again, the next day and the next day and the next day, and so on throughout the course of the year and throughout the course of our lives.
Yeah. I love what you said though about the 20 minutes versus like, oh man, that's not, I got to run for 60 minutes today or whatever. And I think a lot of times we face these sort of windows in the day where, you come home from work or whatever, and you're going out to eat dinner at maybe an hour and 15 minutes. And you're like, damn, I don't have time for 60. I'm 45. That's not really. But if you just get in that mindset, like I'm just trying to think about this for myself, boy, you got an hour and 15 minutes to quote unquote burn in a way. It's like easy to sit back and watch a show or get on your phone or whatever, but 20 minutes would not really impact that hour and 15 minutes. You go out and get it done. And I was just thinking about, whatever it is, whatever you want to do, let's take triathlon out of it for a minute, and 20 minutes a day, what that could really mean, whether you want to write a book or you want to be a painter or do anything, or start a business or something like that, 20 hours a day, 20 minutes a day really adds up. I just did it. It was like 130 hours a year, like if you start thinking about it, like by the end of the year, I would like to have a book in, good shape. If you just did that 20 minutes a day, but also what you said about how the momentum it creates, or the snowballing effect. And it's like, yeah, yesterday I just went and did a little primer, but like you said, man, not today. I'm like, I didn't even feel like I could run 60 minutes yesterday. It would have been a real struggle on that treadmill mentally, mostly. But now today I kind of have more of this feeling like, oh, I could probably go down there and do that right now, or go out and run for quite a while. It's just almost like it kind of ignited something or sparked a little something in there, connecting the dots or whatever. And I think one of the things we talked about too before the cast was how this, just overeating and overdoing the sugar kind of like confuses your decision making, and it makes you overthink, or these little things that sort of happen because you're not on the right path. You can't quite make a decision in the moment, and you're kind of decide, you're trying to like prematurely optimize everything before. Yeah, but what if I go out and do this? And rather than just going out and experiencing it and learn it for yourself, because I'm trying to get out of this, overthinking phase, where you try to like, well, if we do this, is this going to be, it's like, certainly some things need to have that kind of planning and decision making, but most of the time we learn from experience and actually doing it. And we try to actually think we can understand something before we even actually do it. So to me, that's a problem. And I think a lot of times it can be this sort of nefarious effects of eating poorly or sleeping poorly that kind of like aren't obvious. You're going, man, I don't know why I'm holding back today. Well, it's probably because of that. You don't have the momentum. You're not in that like sort of a reactionary stage. You're kind of overthinking a lot of things. And I feel like it's easy to fall in that trap, and really not even know why. It's just kind of like, man, I don't know why I don't feel like working out today. I should have, whatever. And I think that these are things that happen to us that really kind of hold us back. And that's why it's like, it's almost like when you go to the pool deck and you spend, 10 minutes going, man, you just go. You know what I mean? Just like most things in life, if you just start doing them, you'll figure it out along the way, and you'll, learn something along the way. And it doesn't have to be life or death. And you don't have to always make the perfect decision, but just creating action in your day is so important.
Quickly you were saying, if you said, I think you said 130 hours was like the total, when working on a book, if you did the, 20 minutes a few times a week,
Every day.
the average person reads between 30 and 40 pages an hour. So that means you can read 4,500 pages a year. and the average book is 350 pages, I think it comes out to like almost a book a month perfectly. Like, I don't have time to read. Yeah, I know you got 20 minutes. Go look at your screen time usage on your iPhone. I'm pretty sure you got 20 minutes to read a day. It's how we choose, right, to do things. And you said, you have to experience things and not just talk about them. Was the other piece, and two-parter on that is, one is, instead of asking yourself, what am I going to get out of this? I've only got, like you said, well, I got this amount of time. What am I really going to get out of it? Instead of asking yourself, what you're going to get out of it, asking, go do it, and then ask yourself what you did get out of it when you're done.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Because then
exactly. You get nothing out of doing nothing. You get zero. So the longer you sit there and try to explain yourself away from doing something, you're getting nothing. And not only getting nothing, but you're actually creating more negativity and lessening the chances of you doing it tomorrow by spending 20 minutes convincing yourself not to do something, right? Because you are your thoughts, right? Then saying, I'm just going to go do it. And then you do it and you come back and like, what'd you get from that? And it's like, well, another brick on the wall for my, my big race in September. Yeah, I don't know what I got out of physically, but I feel better. It was nice. You got the sunshine, you got the house, it's we try to talk ourselves in and out of things all the time. Like the last, if for those of you listening, I know I have kids. It's like Christmas is a hard time for me as like a parent, because I feel very fortunate to have the life that I have, where I can, if my kid wants something, you can get it, but it's like, it's exciting, right, for kids in Christmas, because they're like, now what I'm going to get, what I'm going to get. But it's also, Hayden's, he's 6.5, and, he's super excited. What am I going to get? I wonder what Santa's going to get me, but the other half of that, it's like, you have to make sure you tell them, like it's not about only getting things, right? That's not what Christmas is about. It's not about just getting things. You want to be generous. You want to be greedy. And as a 6-year-old, it's like, it's hard to kind of explain that. So I was like, what? I kind of got fed up with it, honestly, on Christmas Eve, because he'd already had plenty of presents, and I get like a lot of it's excitement and whatever. And I said, what? I said, we're going to go to Publix, and we're going to buy a bunch of stuff. We bought like, stuff for peanut butter and jelly. We bought apples. We bought bananas. We bought Cokes. We bought Reese's. We bought peanut butter crackers. And I said, we're going to go back to my mom's and Nana's, and we're going to make 20 to 25 sack lunches. And you're going to decorate the bags, and you're going to help us pack them. And then when we're done with that on Christmas Day, after you open some of your presents, we're going to drive down to the mission, and we're going to drop them off. Because there are a lot of people on this planet who don't have a place to live, who not only don't know what kind of present they're going to get, but don't know what meal they're going to make. So we packed them all up, and I'll share this quick story because it's just a parent story. Because he's decorating the first bag, and these are people that are homeless and don't have a place to go and struggling to find food, and and it's cute, but it's funny, but it's also kind of sad. Is on the first bag he wrote, I hope that you find food. And I was like, buddy, no, we need to add something to that, because that's not the message, right? 'Cause it was heartfelt, but I was like, that's not really what I write in the bag. So he finished off with, I hope you find food in here, but in the bag. I was like, that's better, but why don't we just stick to Merry Christmas? That's my face. Let's just do that from here on out. So that's what he did. But it was just to show like how he doesn't understand. But I was like, I want him to see this and appreciate what he has. And he opened a present on Christmas morning from Sam, whatever, and we loaded up in the car and went downtown and dropped all these bags off, and he was asking a bunch of questions. And then yesterday on the way to Allie's parents' house, he said, I don't want to be a landscaper anymore. If you follow this podcast, he's like all about being a landscaper and whatever. He said, I don't want to be a landscaper anymore. Wow. I said, what do you mean? I thought you wanted to be a landscaper. It's like breaking news. And he said, no. He said, I want to help people. He said, I want to help all those people that don't have a place to live and don't have food, because that worries me. And of course, then we led like another huge conversation. Anyway, the short of it is that people, we all better understand and get better experiences from experiences, right? Things that take extra effort. right? And we've gotten so far away from that as a society. 'Cause it was even a thought that crossed my mind. It was like, because all you hear about in the news and everything else is it's like, oh, well, that might not be safe, right? To go drop off food and walk up to homeless people. And I was like, how many times have you heard of a homeless person killing a person randomly? But how many thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of people, right? Will, text and drive, and that's how they die in a car accident. Right. I'm not trying to be, morbid, but I was like, it's the things that we do in our mind to convince ourselves that we shouldn't do something that we know is right and that we know is good, that we know will be meaningful because it takes extra effort. Right. It's not because we want to do it. But that's how we learn. We learn by experiences, not doing things, but by doing things. And because it impacts us all, not just like, what we do with our kids or with our friends or how we reach out to people, but by the smallest things in life, right? That do things because we can all get frustrated and we can all get, whatever. And then we just stop, right? Because it takes effort to try and make a difference, right? Or to make a change, right? And we said we just get aggravated and just don't, right? Or I'm going to do 20 minutes. It's worthless. I'll just do it tomorrow. Okay. So you're choosing to do nothing. Doing nothing to you is the better option. And just, if you say it like that, it's like, what? Wait a minute. No, that's not right. Doing nothing can't be the better option, right? Yes, obviously, if you're sick or you're hurt, it's a better option. But when it comes to doing 20 versus doing an hour versus doing nothing, the 20 is the win, right? Or the 25 minutes, or the 30, or the 30 minutes on the trainer, or the 1,000 in the pool, right? It's the experience, and it's what you're teaching yourself, and it's the behavior and the patterns you're creating that make a lasting impression. We talk about this on so many podcasts about what triathlon, regardless of the distance, can do for you, the person, right? Not how many sessions you can do each week to raise your watts per kilogram by this, because that doesn't make you a better person. It makes you a faster athlete, right? It doesn't make you a better person. But there are things within this sport and how you train and the people you come into contact with and the decisions that it makes you make on a daily basis that can, if you let it, change you, right? Or you can just walk your way through triathlon like you are in life, and it won't impact anything, right? Because you're not changing anything. But we've both had multiple athletes, how many, the course of the last, 5-10 years, say that, certain promotions at work they got were solely, but they believe were solely because of what they think triathlon has done for them, with their confidence, with their work ethic, with all these positive things. They've never said, you know what, I was up for this promotion and at work and I really think it's because, remember how lazy I was last year and I wouldn't do anything. I was just uncommitted and unmotivated and just taking a bunch of time off for no reason and eating like shit. That was it, man. That got me the job. That's what sealed the deal for me, and that's what gave me the confidence to step in front of the president of the company and make my pitch for why I should get the promotion. No, that's not the case. It's like, it's the accountability that taught me, right? It's the process that taught me. It's the, making these good decisions for myself. What that taught me, right? It's influences you. And again, yes, you get physical benefits and you can get off, medications and stuff like that, obviously, but the feedback that we always get is that it's the attitude towards life, towards yourself, that changes. Not I've been in a better space with my family. I've been a better parent. I've been a better, worker. I'm telling you, man, it's all because I went down from an 830 pace to a 720. Game changer, man. I've been able to be a much better individual with a better attitude. No, it's what it does to your mood and to your attitude, right? That can change your life. And guess what? That doesn't come from doing nothing. It comes from doing something. And that's your choice, whether you can define something as 10 minutes or something as 2 hours. But when you define something or good enough or long enough or equivalent enough to what you want to get in return to 2 hours, well, then the likelihood of you doing it decreases, because 2 hours is a long time to get value out of something. But if you can convince yourself and then see the value in 10 minutes, in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, then you're creating so many more opportunities to create and get value in return to things that benefit you, not just from a health standpoint, not just from a training standpoint, but from a life standpoint. And that's just, it's a challenge, right? Because we live in a world of extremes, that again, go both ways, they kind of defy each other, right? We want to do more extreme, crazy things by doing less, right? Just, it's so symptomatic and of our culture that we have in America now is how little can we do to do so many great, right? It's like, you don't want to overwork, but you still got to put the work in. And so if when you're making New Year's resolutions or goals or whatever it is you call it, think about it, like, what do I need to do to get it in return? And the answer is never going to be zero. Never going to be zero. But the question is how many more zeros do I have to have on the other side of the number than I want to do, right? 100 or 200 or, 50 minutes or 80 minutes or 90 minutes or 10, however many minutes it is, when am I going to start seeing value from it? But I can tell you this, and from personal experience, the value is always more, once you start to work your way up, it's never zero. Never. You never get that value from that. So, keep it simple and don't minimize 20. Right, because it's you're never going to get lower than zero.
I'm all in on that, man. Quickly, have you ever heard of the Mountain of Hell mountain bike race?
The Mountain of Hell. I'm confident I'm not going to register for it. But
no, you're not. You're not at all. Normally, I'm not into really into dudes that put GoPros on and ride around in the mountain. But this thing, I watched it. It's 45 minutes. It's like 15 miles down the Alps in France. It's unbelievable. I've seen it before. I've seen like the beginning. They start on a ski slope and it's snowy and icy. Mm-hmm. And then you may have seen it. Somebody wipes out and then 50 people crash into them and stuff like that. And then they've got, the rest of the race ahead of them. But I kind of watched through that part this time. And this is, I was just captivated by this thing. This is like going down a mountain. It's like what? They do it in 40 minutes and it's 15 miles or whatever. So they average and it's not all downhill. So you have to climb and stuff, but I just highly recommend watching it. Some of these, there's one of the guys that tried to come from 1,000th place and tried to win it. And, he started in the back. It was just unbelievable. He got a flat 5 miles from the finish line and finished riding a flat.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I think the last half mile, the tube finally came out and got jammed in his gears and he had to coast couldn't pedal.
Oh God.
It's unbelievable. I'm telling you, it's worth the watch. It's 45 minutes, but it really kind of inspired me. Not to do that. Well, there's part of me in my mind man, but it was wicked, man. Rocks and you go from snow to rocks and ruts to grass to it's just insane. But
dude, that's
I love.
I'm a no on that. If you want to do it all, I'm all in on supporting you.
From afar.
That. But it's funny how things like that, and I think that's something that as athletes, we should chase more often, right? Is not things to stroke our ego, but things that can truly we can experience with total detachment of what it's going to do to our ego or an expectation. If we can just do it to do it, the things that we can actually gain from it are so much more, right, than a specific time. And I truly believe that's why certain pieces of triathlon are kind of unfolding in the gravel triathlon and things that are not even time related, that are just experience focused, because those are the things. Because we live enough of our life being challenged and graded and compared, right? If when your hobby, you don't want to do it in your hobby, you want to do something that just you can experience, right? That kind of detaches you from the rest. And I think that's why people burn out so often is it's all about, stroking their ego, right? Or how fragile their ego is, instead of, I want to experience something really awesome. And then what you gain from that during that experience by being present and really soaking it in versus, kind of vice versa was if I'd gone out and done, ran to the track to do a 30-minute run because it was snowing to see how fast I could run, that'd be a stroke of my ego, right? Versus knowing and getting the experience that I could by running down the middle of the street and downtown West End Nashville during the snow, but doing it slower, but actually just being able to enjoy it and experience it. And then we have to make those decisions every day in everything that we do. But I think chasing experiences is something that I think we should do more often. But that we oftentimes find more reasons not to do it and excuses why we shouldn't, or what it's going to interfere with, than not. And so I encourage everybody this year to find something find an experience, right, that scares you, or that you think that you look at that like, that's going to change me if I can do that. And it won't change you to cross the finish line. It might, but it'll be how you change yourself along the way. Right? It's like the quote that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Is like, so regarding becoming a millionaire, it's not about how much money you make. It's who you become by becoming one, and how hard you have to work from ground zero to work all your way up. It's not about the money. It's about who you become in the process, and how hard you have to work, how dedicated you have to be, and the obstacles you have to overcome, and all these things. It's never about the money. It's about who you, hopefully not everyone, but who you become in the process. And that's what triathlon is, right? And that's what training is, and endurance sports is. It's who you become in the process. But the caveat to that is that's up to you.
Yeah.
Who you become, or who you continue to stay. And that's a choice we all have. And myself, not an easy one, but hopefully it's one that we can all take a little bit harder look at this year, and what we want to change and how we can change it, instead of looking for the easiest way out, is to work at it. And we hope this podcast worked for you. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas, and that you have a happy New Year. We'll obviously come to you again this week. Go to our website, c26triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. We also have gear on there to support the podcast. Click on that and support us. We don't do really anything else in terms of sponsors and stuff, but gear is a great way to support the podcast and support what we do and what we love. I mean, we do it for each other, but we do it for you as well. And we've seen that over the past 6 years. So click on that. I got a bunch of awesome gear on there. But again, that's for anyone and everyone. If you're a listener, or just want to buy a few extra sweatshirts and hoodies for the fam, it's a great way to support us and support the community as well. And then looking for coaching in 2023, you can click on the coaching tab and peruse our roster of coaches. And then we have our 2023 race specific plans. Those are live. And then our first Zoom call for those is early January. So check those out. If you have any questions about those, you can email summer@c26operations@gmail.com. If you need anything from Mike, he's available, CrushingIron@gmail.com. If you need anything from me, I'm at c26coach@gmail.com.
All right, buddy. Well, good to be back, and be back with you.
Always
Thursday.
good to be back.
See you.
See you, dude.